class. Today we're going to be looking at estimating angles. We're going to look at mental math. That's what we're going to be doing for mental math today. So one thing that we're going to be looking at is the unit circle. So we're going to look at how we can use benchmark angles to estimate angles. We're going to make sure we redraw the angle just so we know which angle we're talking about. I'm going to ask you to do the same on your mental math sheets, or if you do it on loose leaf or a plain piece of paper, whatever you need. And then you need to make sure you justify yourself in a sentence. So you're going to be looking at the mental math estimating angles first slide that I uploaded onto Showbie for you. So I'm just going to pick one of the numbers there, and I'm going to redraw that angle and just kind of look at what I can do to make sure I understand where that is in conjunction with other angles. So I'm going to look at, let's just look at angle 8. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one of my lines for angle 8, and I'm going to redraw that. Okay, then I'm going to flip my ruler and roughly make sure that it's around the same as angle 8. And I'm going to redraw that. So angle 8 is right here. From there to there. That is the angle that we're talking about. And now we're going to have to look at that compared to other benchmark angles. So we're just going to pull this up here. So looking at the unit circle, you have the unit circle in degrees. Make sure you use degrees when you're looking at this. Up on Showbie as well for you. So the biggest benchmark, or the most obvious benchmark angle, is our 90-degree angle. 90-degree angle is that right angle. It is where two lines are perpendicular with one another. So you have those perpendicular lines. That is 90 degrees. And based off that, we can start using that and then look at other benchmark angles as we go along. So we have to look at this angle and say, well, is this angle larger or smaller? Is it more open or more closed than 90 degrees? So the first thing I'm going to look at is, well, those two angles are much closer than those two lines. So I'm just going to show you, if it was 90 degrees, we'd be looking at something right about there. So it is much more open than 90 degrees. So I can say, and I'm going to write this on my mental math sheet, that angle 8 is greater than, this means angle by the way, angle 8 is greater than 90 degrees. Okay, so that's my first step. My next is saying, well, if it's greater than 90 degrees, what are some other benchmark angles that I need to look at? So another benchmark angle that you could use is 180 degrees. So compared to 90 degrees, 180 degrees, this would just be another 90 degrees. So if we go from here all the way to there, that is 180 degrees. And if I'm looking at angle 8, 180 degrees would be all the way there. So do we know it's bigger or smaller? We're going to say angle 8 is definitely smaller than 180 degrees. So that's another way we can use that. So we can look at that and say, well, it's bigger than 90, smaller than 180. And then I have to look at it, well, where is it about? Is it halfway? Is it right in between that 180 and 90 degrees? And it doesn't look like it's quite halfway completely. Halfway between 90 and 180 would actually be, if I'm looking at this here, would be 135 degrees. So I can say, well, is it more closed than 135 degrees or less closed? And it looks really slightly less than that. So I would say angle 8 is also less than 135 degrees. So it's more closed than 135 degrees. The next benchmark angle that I'm going to look at in between 135 degrees and 90 degrees is 120 degrees. Now 120 degrees, we're looking at about there. So now I have to say, is it in between 120 degrees, 135 degrees, or where is it in between these two? So what we're doing right here is we're slowly squeezing it in for our estimate. And I say, do you know what? Angle 8 is really close. This angle I drew is really close to 120 degrees, but I think it's a little bit bigger. So angle 8 is greater than 120 degrees. So by doing this, I can say that, well, angle 8, let's use black. Angle 8 is greater than 135 degrees, but it's less than, less than 120 degrees. So based off that, now I can make an assumption and I could say, well, is it closer to 120 or 135? And I said, you know, I think it's closer to 120. So I'm going to say, therefore, angle 8 is about 125 degrees. So that is how, if you want to look at that, step over here, you can estimate angles. So that's going to help you with your estimating angles. The next thing you have to do is make sure you justify your estimate in a sentence. So you're going to do that just by writing down what we did. So when you are doing this on your assignment, you want to make sure that the first thing you do is you say what angle you're talking about in that question box. Okay, so make sure you do that, and I'm just going to pull this up for myself right now so I don't miss something. So in that question box, you're going to make sure that you write what angle you're talking about. In the method used to calculate mentally, you're actually going to redraw your angle, and then you're going to write your notes based on what you think about that angle, looking at the unit circle and those benchmarks. After that, what you're going to do is you're going to come up with your answer, and your answer goes in the answer box. Finally, what you're going to do is you're going to justify in a sentence, and really you're just going to say your process. So the first thing I started was that I compared it to 90 degrees, then I compared it to 180 degrees, and then I slowly squeezed it to in between 135 and 120 degrees. And that's what you would write in your justification, and that's how you're explaining yourself in your answer. So that's how you measure angles. What I want you to do now is I want you to make sure you measure your own, so pick either any number there. Try to stay away from the 90-degree angles because those are a little obvious. And once you're finished that, I have uploaded 2 videos on Pythagoras. So I want you to watch those on his theorem so that we can get into that.